only doing probably about 3 different times per week that we're doing a small group. So it's mostly private personal training.
Okay. And then you said 3 times a week you're going to open it up to some small group?
Yeah.
How is that going to be packaged?
We're going to do it as like selling. We're going to sell it 15 sessions at a time and do it as a punch pass. So if they want to come to 2 out of those 3 a week, they can, or if they want to come 3 times a week, they can. And then they don't have to worry if they're traveling for the summer and miss some, that they just buy more when they run out kind of thing.
Cool. You keep saying we. You have a business partner?
Yeah, I have a business partner. My boyfriend is a trainer as well.
Okay.
So it's the 2 of us. So we have some existing clients coming with us, and he's been doing a boot camp 2 nights a week right now. So that's why we're doing just the 3 time options to start with, because most of it to start will just be carryover that existing group that's used to those 2 nights. And then we'll add more times as we kind of grow from there.
Do you have your business agreement hashed out?
Yep.
On paper, all that?
Todd suggested to me a while ago to read the Get a Grip, and so we went through a lot of the steps from there as much as we could kind of apply to ourselves with just the 2 of us doing it, and yeah, it worked out really well.
Do you have like the ownership agreement though? Do you have that kind of stuff hashed out?
Like the legal stuff, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, awesome. We got a lawyer to do all that up.
That is good stuff right there.
Hey, there's Pete.
Hey. I made it happen.
Who else has a question for Heidi? Pete, do you have a question for Heidi?
I had a question for Pete.
There you go, Pat. That works.
Heidi, unless you want more questions from everyone else.
No, I'm fine with asking Pete questions.
All right. So, Pete, what's going on?
What's happening?
Nothing much. Thank you for all your, when we chatted personally or texted or whatever, your help. My question, I guess, is based on marketing or getting people to come to your facility. Now, I'll paint you my picture first. As I train out of my house, I have about 800 square foot garage. You know, has a half bath in it, separate entrance, everything. So it's kind of like its own little entity. It's not like people have to come into my living room or down in my basement or something. So I live in Southern Maryland, which is about 20 miles south of DC, which we are essentially a bedroom community. So most of our people will get up at 5 a.m. to do Beltway traffic, and they don't get home till 7 p.m., right? So there's kind of like, that's majority of the people. They're all commuters into the city. So I was trying to figure out the best way to do some type of promotion or some type of thing to attract. Like, I don't know how much it being at my house has to do with it, because I just potentially might have 2 more clients that gave me phone calls today. They were referred to me by a physical therapist that I have a partnership with. So, well, not a friendship with. So I'm just trying to think, you know, when you guys first started, because I know I'm in a different ball game, 39 years old, figuring this shit out right now. You guys were young. If I remember the story, you guys kind of started together. When you are beginning and you're this small, like, what did you find the best way to get just people? Because I haven't lost anyone, which is good, because when they get here, they appreciate it, they enjoy it, they see results. So it's not like they're running away. It's just trying to get more people in. Sorry I threw all that at you. So,
well, so Pat, when you say more people, Do you have an ideal type of client? Is there a specific demo that you're targeting?
I've been working close with Andy McCoy. Like, he's been helping me out a little bit just because he's from the area. And we were buddies growing up. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. When we were in Chicago, I was talked a little bit with Chris and talked some with Andy. And I guess in the beginning stages, I kind of got the feeling of you'll find your niche, like it'll find you, you know? So I guess I'm going after like general population right now because that's where my people are, my clients are right now. But I'm an ex-teacher. I've been a teacher for 16 years, a weight training coach, a football coach in the area. So I have a lot of connections with coaches, and I've reached out to them, and I have no clue if they're even passing my information on to their athletes or not. So I don't have that specific, like who I'm going after, but I'm not just accepting anyone, if that makes sense.
Yep. And so I don't think that you need to have like a firm niche when you're in your early stages per se. But if you're gonna tap into the experience we had or the success we had, it leans heavily on the fact that we were targeting a pretty specific audience and we understood where to find them. And so in the early days for us, everything was grassroots. It was, work our long days, get our gym squared up as best as possible. And then the minute we were done with our last client, we were in the car on the way to watch a game. We were out at the field. We were making sure that we engaged with parents. We were interacting with people basically on the sidelines. And so for us, it was one of those, like, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care type deals.
Right.
And as we made that impact of constantly being visible in that community, the leads just kind of snowballed. I don't think you have to target an athlete population, but you do need to kind of know where your target optimal client is. And so otherwise it's kind of that where if you're a master or jack of all trades and master of none, right, how do you figure out what your marketing objectives are? I mean, you're pretty much just saying, I'm available for everybody who's listening, and it's not really going to be that effective in coming up with a strategy. One of the things that did kind of catch my ear there was your connections with the coaches, not because I think you need to hit all the athletes, but what about this teacher demo that you have? If you say you were a teacher for over a decade, that's a whole different population of people who need fitness instruction, which is the school professionals. I mean,
the funny thing is, like 8 out of 10 of my clients are teachers.
Okay.
So, and I've picked, and I've worked with, I went with coaches. One coach approached me, the girls lacrosse coach of the local high school. And we've got some things in the works, where I go out to them and, they sign up for like 10 sessions at this rate, and I'll come out and do some basic stuff with them because they're high school girls with zero, experience. But I have, and after leaving Chicago, Mike kind of knows this. I was offering only 2 services, kind of like private or semi-private. And I'm sitting there going, why the heck can't we offer classes? Now they can't be as big because of the size, but I could still offer strength classes. And we just kind of launched that a month ago. And I think we have 4 people signed up for them now. So it's, I don't know how much summer has to do with it, if people really aren't thinking about this type of stuff and that sense. But I have tapped into the teachers, and funny, it started with 3 people at the school I was teaching at, and then it's even reached out to the Board of Education. So
sure. Well, I think everybody on our screen here would agree that summer is kind of starting to kick our asses in one way or another, in some capacity. I mean, I know Frank's seen a little dip in boot camp attendance in the last couple of weeks, and it happens to us every single year. So I wouldn't get too down on that. So the more I think of it, the parent in me is saying, what's more terrifying if I were a parent of a young female lacrosse player than sending them to a 39-year-old guy's garage?
Well, all right.
And so
that's why I go to them first.
Sure. And so going to them. What was that? I thought somebody asked a question. I think that it's not real scalable, this whole go to them approach. So if you love being out in other people's weight rooms, spreading the word and interacting with other athletes, great. But it really limits your ability to deliver a consistent experience from one client to the next. So if the lacrosse girls have a good experience because you're in their high school gym doing whatever it may be, and the word starts to spread, well, you go to that next weight room, you have no idea what's going to be there, and you cannot replicate the experience from one to the next. And so that's a little bit, I don't want to say concerning, but it's going to impact your ability to make this bigger than you being a one-man show. And so I don't know if right this moment chasing the athlete population is optimal for you, unless you have plans for getting into your own space that's not on your personal property in the near future.
Right. No, and that's something I've thought about, and that's why I offered to go there first. And it's funny, I guess you try things, and not that it's been like years of me trying, but you kind of find out logistically what kind of headaches are coming. And that was one of them. I'd show up to this weight room and thinking 6-7 girls are coming, and 2 would show up. So now I've walked away from my, rally class group or whatever to think I'm going out to this group, and, I have 2 there. So we kind of did put a little lid on that for now, just because of the inconsistency. And they all do have my information. So if they are serious, I guess, they can contact me, and then we can set something up, an intake or something like that. But
probably one worth revisiting in September when they're all in the same place again.
Right. No, I appreciate it. And that's just kind of, I don't know how to attack. I did start off trying to say, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, instead of just focusing on the group. The best thing, I think you did one Fit-Biz thing, and you talked about how you guys put all the social stuff aside and just worked on your product, and you caught up. I think you said you had like a couple of years or something, or a year before you even had a website and, stuff for that. And I wish I kind of knew all that before, because it makes perfect sense to why don't you focus on what you're giving people and not worry about all the exterior flashes and stuff. So.
Yeah, well, maybe there's some value here in talking about that, kind of how we captured that high school scene early, be it for you, Pat, or for other people, because the almost the entirety of our success is kind of contingent upon these early stages where we basically grabbed almost all of the athletes from one program in one community, and it just started with a relationship with a coach. You've got that already. So it isn't necessarily about asking that the coach just funnel your contact info into the player's hands. For us, the real deal was basically making sure that the coach experienced it firsthand before he was out trying to talk to the players about it. Because you could have a meal with the guy and talk about how great of a strength coach you are, but if he doesn't see you in action and watch you improving his athletes, he's not really equipped to sell it. So when we were having some success with basically this guy's co-captains back in 2007, we called them and we said, hey, their next training sessions at this time, they've both implied that they're totally cool with you being here, assuming it isn't a violation of MIAA rules.
Right.
We'd love to invite you down to be a fly on the wall and just see how this goes. And he took us up on it. And he came in and he watched how we warmed up his guys, how we engaged with them, how we did their arm care protocols, how we walked them through a training session, how we emphasized, the importance of nutrition, and honestly, just how we positioned ourselves as role models for these young kids, because we were 25. So we were at that age where it was like just old enough to be taken seriously by their parents, just young enough to be taken seriously by the athletes without being seen as like old guys, and kind of this sweet spot. And when the coach came in and saw that we had like really good rapport with them and that we were making an impact on kind of their performance, it was the easiest thing in the world to collect leads, because he couldn't talk about it fast enough. He was funneling us players almost like from the moment he got home that day. And I think that that's the way that you need to think about exploiting your relationship with these coaches, is they need to see you at your best, not just hear you talk about how good you could be.
No, it's great, because I invited her out. I know every state has their different rules of what the coach can do and so forth and all that. And that makes perfect sense. I appreciated that. Not, don't just tell them. Again, you can sit here and hell, when I was a football coach, I used to tell kids, don't tell me, show me. So, it's the same aspect. It's just now on the end of what I can do for them. So.
And this applies to establishing relationship with PTs, chiropractors, even orthopedic surgeons. We basically tell them we don't want them to just give us their trust if they haven't seen it or experienced it. So there's a great PT named Andrew Millett in our area. He trains with our staff. He trains during Duffy's strength camps a lot of the time, and he's in it, experiencing it. So it's very easy for him to give really credible leads to us. I mean, when the people come, they're pre-qualified. He's already explained our model to them during a treatment. And
right.
By the time they call, they not only are they pre-qualified, but they almost know the language before they even get to me. They will call me and they'll say, hey, I've been told I need to schedule my initial assessment in advance of getting my individualized training materials. It's like, I'm not even pitching. I'm just quoting prices and giving times out. And it's because we've given this PT the opportunity to be in it and experience it. And he could give the pitch for my business pretty effectively. So this kind of on-site in-person deal is pretty important for these collaborative efforts that you have with other practitioners.
No, and that's good. We're small, like I said, we're pretty rural, even though we're outside the city. So the phone call I got today, that he left a message and said, I was referred to you by, the Peterson PT. So that's, and that's the first time it's happened. So that was like, okay, they're working just as I've referred to them if something comes up. So I'm building those relationships, and I guess I just got to understand, slow down to go fast.
Sure.
Well, thank you.
Happy to help.
Pete, I got 2 questions.
Showed up. Do it.
All right. The first one is just yes or no. It's silly. Is my picture still in your office?
Yes.
Okay,
it's
good.
So creepy. Somebody asked me if it was my son calling the other day.
Son of a beast thing.
Awesome. Second, I've never done this, but there's going to be like this street fair thing in Philly in August.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have like a booth there. You ever done anything like that? Any advice?
Yeah. Show up with cards for you to collect names, email addresses, and phone numbers, and be prepared to raffle off gift certificates. So give away. In our case, we always show up, and I have a foam board poster that's made that basically says, today we're going to be raffling off 2 assessment and twice a week training packages. So I give away basically an 8-session training package and initial evaluation. And what I do is I collect a shit ton of email addresses and leads. And then depending on the event, I use this mostly at tryouts for local baseball teams, sort of a deal. If we know the guy who runs the organization, we'll reach out and we'll say, hey, can we come on out to your tryout, or can we send a coach out to warm up your guys? And we'll set that table up. And in those cases, I'll go back to the coach at the end of the day and I'll say, hey, here's all the leads I got. Who's the most deserving? Which family absolutely can't afford our services, but their kid works his ass off, or which family can definitely afford our services and will be a lead generator for us because they're thought leaders or their opinion leaders in their community. And then we just, in a really selfish way, handpick the people that are going to lead to the best storyline for us in a business development mentality. And then I email every single other person and basically say, hey, you didn't get it, but we'd love to have you in. Here's our pricing structure. If you'd like to come down and see it, by all means, we'd love to see you soon. Check us out. And it turns into some, we get people through the door because nobody says no to a gift certificate. And then my team's got a month to figure their shit out and convert those people to paying clients. And they're usually pretty effective at it.
All right. And then when you put the prizes in the raffle on the poster board, are you like at a value of X, or you just keep it as like, I
usually have that on a gift certificate, like,
okay.
Like fair market value type of a deal. Because usually when I give away gift certificates, it's to events for like charity organizations, and they will ask for the actual value so that they can send me the documents that I pass along to our accountant. But I mean, it's not mandatory by any means. And one of the things we did that has worked out really well, we got like a vinyl banner of our logo made, and they made it with a Velcro component to it. And it came with a strip of Velcro that we attached to one of our folding tables that just never comes off. And it's really easy to slap that thing on anywhere we go and have a really clean looking logo, be it outside of our facility on the day of a seminar or field side or at an event like you're talking about.
What material was that?
It's like a vinyl,
okay.
I don't even know. I'll send you a picture of it tomorrow.
Booyah. Thank you.
Happy to help. Let me know how it goes. I bet you're going to get a ton of leads out of it if you do a good job.
Yeah, it's not till August, but they just told me about it. We're having a meeting Friday. So I'm totally going to be like, so I got all this great information from Pete Dupuis, and they're going to be like, let's do it.
My best piece of advice is go out there and be you in the biggest, loudest way possible, and don't stand behind the table. Be out in front of it.
So wear my romper?
Make people engage with you in your romper and your kettlebell or whatever you're doing.
All right, that's perfect. Appreciate it.
Wear your Free Content Friday outfit.
So the luchador mask and the romper.
Just the mask.
Heidi, go ahead.
I thought of a question for you now.
Yeah.
So we're a pretty small business. We're trying to keep our costs pretty low starting out, but what would you say, trying to be smart with where I'm investing money, what would you say is the best money you spent in the first year of business?
Oh, that's a really good question. And while I think about it, other business owners like Mike, if something snaps to mind immediately, please do chime in. Are you a seminar goer? Are you somebody who does a little bit of networking, gets out into the fitness community?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So I think that's always a good investment, assuming you take advantage of it. You really immerse yourself in the experience. Not so much an expenditure, but relationships with, for example, we trade bartered a lot in our early days with a publicist who did basically we trained her for free in exchange for her coaching us through how to get into local newspapers and how to connect with the opinion leaders in the community. And that was one of the better moves we made because it helped us scale kind of our presence on people's radar very, very quickly. T-shirts, we put a lot of money into getting our logo on shirts and putting them on the back of every single person who did an initial assessment with us. So we just treated it as a cost of doing business on day one. And we handed out close to 300 shirts in our first year. And those 300 shirts made their way onto every field in the state. And I even saw one of them yesterday. One of them came back through our door, like a 9 or 10-year-old shirt, which was pretty cool. It was totally beaten up and looked like shit, but it was cool to see. Any other gym owners on there with a good answer to that one?
We got out of debt pretty quick, and that was, for me, that was something that I was happy about. I didn't like that debt hanging over us, so we got out of that real quick.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing right now, that with all the construction and delays, we're just bleeding money and just waiting for some of it to come in instead of just going out all the time. But we did order some t-shirts, not 300 of them, but we ordered about 60 of them, I think. So we're going to start doing that for sure. But I like the publicist thing, so I'm going to try and look into something like that. Would be great. Thank you.
We've trade bartered with so many people, graphic designers, publicists, attorneys. I mean, we trade bartered with a guy who wrote up our waiver form.
Nice. We have someone, I guess the guy who's doing our website is a friend of my boyfriend, but we did the same thing. He's doing our website for free, and we're going to train him instead.
Awesome. One piece of advice for all of you, if you're going to be on here to talk with Greg tomorrow night, get his dad's contact info. He's a trademark and patent attorney. And if you haven't trademarked your logos, your stuff with your businesses, please do. We've been burned on it pretty bad, and it forced an entire brand overhaul. And we don't want to be Cressy Sports Performance, but we are because someone else owns CP. So, and Greg's dad's our guy for that. He's really good.
Can I add one thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Pete, it's Noam. How's it going?
What's up, Noam?
One thing is also, and it's really interesting because in New York, people don't take advantage of it, but start getting reviews, like Google reviews. That's something doesn't really cost much money at all. Doesn't cost any money, and really helps you with your local searchability. Like a lot of people just don't do that in New York City, and it's crazy. Like people have like 5 or 6, we have like 60. And so many of our leads come through organic searches in Google. So I would definitely advise you to do that. I mean, Yelp is also pretty helpful, but I think Google is really, really important.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yelp's the devil, but they're just run by bad people. But I totally agree. And I read, I think EC sent me an article yesterday from one of kind of the generic business sites about how Facebook and Google are starting to make an exerted effort, basically driving business to people with more reviews. I'll post that in the forum after we hop off.
Yeah, Facebook as well, yeah.
Definitely agree on that front. We basically had a meeting this afternoon, the two of us talking about how we were going to drive that initiative and start asking for more reviews from clients.
Heidi, what's the location of your business like? Are you guys in like a strip mall or in a neighborhood, or what's going on?
Well, so it's kind of a little bit different setup. We're actually in a condo building. So the first floor of the condo building is all commercial. And there's a few businesses set up in there, but there's still most of the commercial space in that building is sitting empty. So they have a diner and a daycare in there and a convenience store and a dentist office and then us. So it's a little bit weird setup, but we're in a residential area, so it's very, very heavy residential, lots of young families, and we're right across from an elementary school also.
Cool.
So,
Well, get out and introduce yourself to the other business owners.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you contacted the condo association? Offered them a deal?
We haven't set up any type of deal or anything yet. We've just kind of talked to the building manager to let him know that we'd like to put some flyers up and stuff and be able to advertise in the building. And I guess at their condo, like their general meetings, they were letting people know about what types of businesses were going in there. But we haven't been able to attend one of those meetings yet, so.
I just posted the link to that article for you guys.
Cool. Who else has something for Pete?
Todd, what do you got?
What do I have?
What's new with BSP?
We got our first round of group classes rolling, so that's started.
How big are your groups?
We're going to go, for those classes, we're going to go up to 12. We haven't had that many people in a class yet, but they're all conditioning based. So the goal is Obviously, semi-private is our flagship and will continue to be that. But by the fall, we will have conditioning classes on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and strength classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to give people some different options. And, the thing that's kind of that we've noticed so far, and Chris, feel free to jump in whenever you want, is we've been given the conditioning classes to our semi-private clients for free. Mm-hmm. And they've been, it's just increased the value of our membership. And I think it's put a lot of good word out there. So I think that's been a good start to that. But the goal is to kind of have that going by summer. And we're just working on a new website, and we're just really trying to work on so it's interesting. We're trying to really narrow down how to not compete, because obviously we're the most expensive gym in the area. And we can't compete on price. We can't compete. And honestly, we don't want to compete. We want to be like you. I mean, you recommended 0 to 1 to me. It's like, how can we be that? We don't want to compete. We want to create an abundance. So how do we do that? And we're trying to narrow down exactly how we want to say that. So we have one of our clients doing data analysis for us of all of our members and where they came from and all kinds of stuff. And Chris and I have been sitting down and really trying to figure out how we want to make that message more concise, as we have a guy building us a new website. So that's kind of where we're at. And we're just trying to figure out how to make that, we got 2 seconds or whatever. How do we describe what we do? And we want to just make that better. That's kind of where we're at right now.
So you guys are obviously cranking out tons of faction content. Are you producing BSP branded informational content as well?
So I do a blog once a week. Chris does videos a couple times per week. And we're going to start having our staff do more of the videos as well. So,
yes,
we are consistent. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I say stay the course. Content creation is the key. That's what it was for us. If you're answering your most frequently asked questions in a written format or a video format, and you keep driving eyes back to that as they pop up, it's going to find its way through the community. And it takes time. You can't just do that in one summer. It's going to be a project that you're struggling with next time as well.
Yeah. I think it's just been interesting because it's like, listen, like, it's not like things aren't bad. So don't get that impression, but it's just like, it's interesting to see, like, and Chris can speak to this more than I can, because I was only at the other gym for 6 months before we moved. But it's like the dynamic is very different from going from, like, we had like 1,100 square feet to now we have 5,000. Mm-hmm. And it's just like that's become amorphous for some of our members, and we figured out how to put it together to that for them. But it's like what word am I looking for? I guess just the environment. Like, and the thing is like we've been, I think we've been so obsessed and like OCD about our product and our culture, is like we've put so much effort into that. And like our coaching has gotten so much better over the past year, and we're all on the same page, and like just how we deliver everything that we do. It's like, honestly, like I'd put it up against anybody in the fucking world. Like, it's that good, but we're not as good at the, like, hey, you should train here because this is how fucking good this is. You know what I mean? So that's our thing there. So it's like, it's interesting because we do a pretty good job with that with Strength Faction, but navigating that here has been a little bit of a different task.
Yeah, you need some real loud opinion leader type clients who are going to drive a lot of business in your doors anyway from the community. Do you have people who fit that description right now?
We do. Well, we had one. It was funny. We had one, and unfortunately, she's not sane, and she's not with us anymore either. So she brought a bunch of people in, but she was a fucking cancer at the same rate. So
she's not dead.
She's not dead. Chris tried to kill her, but he's not very good at that. So no, but she's gone. So it was just like, so that was like our one person that was like had this big fucking mouth, but at the same rate, she just like ruined an environment when she was in it. So
In our area, those people, Pete, are narcissistic, crazy assholes. And the thing is, like, people see this facade of like, oh my God, they have everything going for them. Like, this person is so cool. And so they influence people in that way. And then you get to know them. And I would see this on the back end. And my wife just said something as she walked by. She knows who we're talking about.
Well, I'll say this: it's not just your area, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine it's probably not. But
and why are you showing up as Frank on my screen?
Because
that's awesome.
Because Frank messaged me and told me that my name can't be Strength Faction, so I changed it. So, but that's kind of like, and we don't have that problem really at all otherwise, but the one that we had, it was a really difficult decision for me to make, which ultimately, like, it worked itself out. She's no longer with us, but I couldn't stand her for a long time, but she referred so much business. Like, to this day, we have a lot of business because of her. So it was a really difficult decision, but.
Sure. Yeah. And you kind of got to pick your poison, but I'll tell you that my biggest lead generator of all time is also the biggest helicopter dad I've ever met in my entire life. And he continues to funnel us leads as much as we're like, stay away from our gym. Like, you're wearing everybody out. He's a good human being at his core. It just wears people out. So you can never find the perfect lead generator, but she sounds like trust your gut on that one.
She was not a good person. She was literally like, she was trying to pit members against another member and all kinds of, it was like, you're fucking 50. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is ridiculous.
Even social events became a problem because of having to have a selfie with every single person. And literally she's 50 something. You're like, what's wrong with you? And that doesn't sound that bad. You're probably thinking like selfies. Okay, who cares? But you just have to experience it. But no, what Todd gave, I think it's cool for anyone listening is like, I think that our gym is proof that you can get really, really far on just a quality product and have like zero marketing. Like, we did not focus on marketing ever. And now we're at the point where the reason why things, like the word that he used, like things aren't bad, but things are a little bit like, holy shit now, is because we made a big jump. So our old facility was 1,100 square feet. Our new facility, we're responsible for just over 5,000 square feet. The total facility is 10,200 that we're still with the MMA gym we were before. So it's just like, and it's like premium space now. So the price per square foot went up substantially as well. So I think that there's a lot of lessons here, but the biggest lesson learned for us is like, shit, when you're in 1,100 square feet, like, the environment's totally different. People are so close together that they feel close together in more ways than just like proximity, right? And so one of the things that we deal with in this new, big, beautiful, like flagship facility is that people literally will say things about, I don't feel as close anymore. Because they're literally not, but then it's also like someone can be having a conversation over here and someone's, I'm over here at the dumbbells right now doing my portion of the program, and they feel like they're not as in touch with everybody. So it's like weird stuff that we're figuring out in-house. And then, like Todd said, the elevator pitch of what the hell we do, because we can tell you everything, right? But it's like, you have 2 seconds, go.
Well, and it's a weird dynamic, that move, kind of that jump in professionalism, because I can tell you that I 100% relate to the experience of going from small to bigger, where we were 22 or 2,300 square feet in our first space. It was a fucking shithole. Like, I'm not kidding when I say the men's restroom didn't have a door on the bathroom stall, so they had one of those like accordion closet doors just standing up in the middle of the room in front of the toilet. Like, it was that bad. And so when we announced we were moving, we didn't consult any of our clients. We weren't like, hey, we got something brewing. We just thought, this is terrible. Like, we're embarrassed of this space. We need to move as quickly as possible. So when we found a nice building with tons of parking and a cafeteria and clean bathrooms and air conditioning, all that stuff, we just blasted an announcement and thought it would be like, all right, everybody come and praise us for this great decision. And the real hardcore loyal lifers were bullshit. Like, bullshit. There's one of the clients who we like built our entire business on was so angry he didn't want to talk to us because he thought that we were going corporate, according to his words, and we were going to lose that personal touch. And as much as I said, like, no, you're still going to be like the center of our little fitness world, you do lose your personal touch a little bit. I mean, there's no way around it. We had to stop being the guys who fucked around the office with all of the athletes every day, and you're making a commitment to scaling the business. Well, you got to come to terms with the fact that this can't be a clubhouse forever. And so we kind of had to convince people that wasn't happening so drastically and immediately that they were going to lose touch of our identity. And we held on to certain parts, but yeah, we became more professional. I mean, I have to kick people out of my office all the time and close the door and say, it's time for me to sell. And that never happened back in the day. And so I get it, but it's not, you're not going to ever go back to that 1,100 square foot vibe unless you go back to 1,100 square feet.
No. And I remember talking with you, like we did the phone call with you as we were searching for places and a lot of the insight you gave. But one of the things was like, I remember exactly how you said it, but like just about how when we were in 1,100 square feet, all we wanted was to be bigger. And then you have, like, we have everything that we've really like ever wanted with this facility now. And we're like, holy shit, I miss when it was 1,100 square feet. And the biggest stress 6 years ago was that we only had a handful of clients, and it was like, how the hell are we going to pay the bills? But then when people came in, it was literally like, you know, we're in our early mid-20s, like it was like a clubhouse. Like we just hung out and shot the shit, and it grew. I don't know how, it just grew organically like that. It was just, it was like a whole nother world. And now you're like, God, I miss that so much. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but that's exactly why it grew. Because of the authenticity and the way that you guys carried yourselves in that environment. Like, your clients want to feel like they're lifting in your garage gym.
They do. That's the interesting thing is, like, we have this little Indian lady that trains there, and I kind of sit down and do, I don't ever know what role you want to call, but I sit down and do like check-ins with the clients. And I was like, hey, you know, what's going well for you? What do you like? And, you know, what's going on, you know, from a goal standpoint and whatever. And I was like, what's your biggest concern with this place? And she was like, well, that you're going to get sterile. She's like, I loved lifting in the old gym because it felt gritty and I felt strong there. And it was just like very empowering, because we have a lot of our clients are women that come to us and they get really strong and they're like, fuck, I didn't realize I could do all this shit. And then it's like, they don't want to lose that. And it's like, now we have this big gym that's like super clean, and Chris and I get on everybody's shit about whether or not it's clean all the time, because it's like, this is fucking beautiful. Don't waste this. And, but it's just interesting. So we've had to like think through that. And the two things that, I mean, we've come up with a lot of things with our coaching that helped a lot and made our product better. But two things were just like purpose and proximity, because it's easier to get lost in that big of a space. So we just have our coaches say like, okay, well, what's my purpose right now? Like, what should I be doing? If I was the best coach in the world, what would the best coach in the world do right now? And then proximity, and making sure that you're always close to a client. Like, I think we've done those two things, and those two things have been, among a lot of other things that we've done, have improved our product a lot. But it's just like, and then just fucking letting people let it rip. And like, it's funny because like when we moved to this new space, I was like, we have these 2 tires, and one of them like 600 or 700 pounds, and there's like 3 of us that can flip it. And I was like, can we get rid of these fucking tires already? They're just in the goddamn way and no one can use them. But then there's like this one that's only a couple hundred pounds. It's probably 200 or 250 pounds. And like all the women at our gym are fucking obsessed with this thing. And it's like, that's their one last piece of their grit. Like, it's like, this is like, so it's like, there's the same lady, the little Indian lady. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, Legends of the Fall. But like Brad Pitt's character has this attachment to this bear that he had to run in with when he was a little kid. And it's like, that's his theme through his whole life. And she's like, that's my bear. Like, that's the thing that I have to conquer. So it's like, it's just really interesting to see that transformation and see, you know, the elements of things that you have to keep to make sure that like you don't lose your soul. Because her first thing was like, don't get sterile. And I was like, I don't worry about that with us, but it's like, if you sit down and look at all the things that we actually have systematized and like, and made and cleaned up and polished. And it's like, wow, we have in a lot of ways. So
yeah, I think my best piece of advice is to pick your favorite pieces that you think make, demonstrate authenticity for you guys, and try and carry that forward. But embrace the fact that you're now the cleaner, bigger, more professional gym. Stop trying to be the 1,100 square foot gym in 5,000 square feet, because that's not authentic. And I've been, just this morning, I was listening to a new episode of the podcast Masters of Scale, which, if you don't listen to it, you should. It's awesome. It's Reid Hoffman, the guy who co-founded LinkedIn, does a podcast. And when you are the co-founder of LinkedIn, you can call Mark Zuckerberg and get him to do a podcast with you. And each episode's with like players on that level. And this week's episode was the guy who created Netflix. And he said, there was a specific quote where he's like, basically, you need to identify the pieces of culture that you love in your business in the early stages, pick 2 or 3 of them, and decide that you're going to scale with those 2 or 3. But you got to let go of everything else, because as the business grows, the staff gets bigger, the roles and responsibilities get bigger, and it just stops being a clubhouse and it starts being a job. And you guys signed on the dotted line for that lease, which basically said it's time to be businessmen and not clubhouse captains.
Is that Founders of Scale?
What's that?
What was it called? Founders of Scale?
Masters of Scale.
Masters of Scale.
With Reid Hoffman. And actually this morning when I clicked on the top list sort of deal on the podcast, the iTunes podcast thing, it was in the first 10. So you'd find it pretty quickly.
Nice.
It's really good.
I think we've held on to the fact, like, we've been really cleaned and polished, and our coaches have gotten way better. It's been weird. It's been like this weird, like, it's like, I don't know if you guys know about the slight edge principles or shit that we talk about all the time. How it's like you just stay consistent, you stay consistent, and then all of a sudden, like, everything's different. And like all of a sudden, like, all of our coaches are taking all this like crazy ownership and stepping up and doing all this shit, and it's fucking amazing. But then like we still have like all these ladies that are like super proud that they're not scared to say fuck in our gym. So it's like, we still got it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's pretty good.
My favorite part is that one of the smallest, oldest ladies that we have is the most resistant to the changes that we've made. Sandy. Yeah. This lady, 70 some years old, and she's like, I hate the fact that I don't feel like I might get something from being on the floors here. and she's dead serious. And she came in as like the sweetest lady that would ask us to change the music if there was like any cursing, to where today sometimes we can get her to swear, and usually we can get her to flip someone off every single workout. So that probably wouldn't be a win in most gyms, but that's a win in ours.
The big thing is to get the ladies to say fuck you to Chris. It's pretty awesome. Or tell Chris to fuck off. It's awesome.
And I don't know why, but yeah.
Because it's hilarious. That's why. All right, we bogarted this long enough. Who else has something to talk about?
I have a question.
Go ahead, buddy.
So Pete, I think it was like, probably like 15 minutes ago, you asked Todd if there was like an opinion leader that he could approach. Do you have any, like, when you do identify an opinion or thought leader in your market, how in your experience has it worked really well approaching that person?
The best way that I've got to them is by asking the coaches to point them out. Because usually the coaches are pretty in touch with who the loudest person on the team, or the parent who's bordering on being a pain in the ass with their influence in the community. And we just go right at them. We'll just say, all right, we make an email introduction. And if we have to, we'll hand out free training to the kids of those people. And did it early on in our business, like year 1. One of the baseball players from a local school mentioned that his buddy was getting looked at for a lot of like high-end D1 soccer programs. We were like, well, shit, we can help him too. And he's like, yeah, he's cheap. He doesn't want to come. And I was like, all right, give me his phone number. And I called him and I was like, come on in and train for free. And I was like, if you score more goals your junior year than you did your sophomore, and you feel like some of it had to do with what you did with us, all I want is for you to talk about it. And the next summer, we had 40 kids from the program he coached for training with us. And it was just one dude, and we made him train during staff lift. we didn't even coach him so much as we trained with him, and we didn't charge him anything. And over the course of an 8 to 10 month period, we earned all his trust, and he funneled us several dozen kids between the ages of 12 and 16 who all were dying to be him when they grew up. They were all looking up to the kid who had a Division I scholarship to play in the ACC, and anything he said, they were buying. And so that was the best example of the kind of opinion leader we're talking about. And so I think you got to be willing to part ways with some free training, and focus on that kind of loss leader mentality.
Yeah, thanks.
The other thing is, if you have relationships with PTs or manual therapists or, for all I care, like nutritional specialists in the area, if you can't find opinion leaders in your own community, there's nothing wrong with asking them if they have any in theirs. Anyone you want to connect us with, we'll take care of your people.
Pete.
Yeah.
When you say this, is a couple of times you've talked about even early stages later, offering like free type of incentives, free training or something. Do you usually have like a cap? Before you said something about, when Wesley was talking about the fair, the trade fair show or whatever that you would give out. Is it like you give a month, like 6 sessions? Is there a number that you kind of found that you're not, giving away too much, I guess?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, everything we do is in month blocks anyway. So that makes it very easy because our programs are designed in 4-week chunks. But I have come to the conclusion that giving away a once-a-week package isn't enough to ensure that we're going to kind of deliver the results that we'd like to see to increase the likelihood that these people end up signing on after the fact. Giving away a 3 or 4 day a week package is great because we're going to help them see big results. But at the same time, they fall in love with the frequency, and then they get pissed when they see the actual price point at the end of the month. So that twice a week is kind of like a safe spot for me, where I know that I can guarantee that we can kind of bully them into doing their 2 days a week on their lower body training sessions. They're more like bang for their buck type exercises. And I can essentially ensure that we're going to show them some very real results. We'll design material for them to do offsite as well. And then there isn't crazy sticker shock when we say, all right, you should really keep going. Here's what it costs to stick with what you're doing. Here's what it costs to do once a week. And it doesn't, I'm more likely to convert those leads at the end of month 1. Hope that answers your question.
No, it does. That's exactly what I was, because I didn't know, again, me being pretty much by myself and small, like I got to watch giving away too much for my time because I don't have another coach right now that someone can show up and they can train with them or something. So, but no, it's perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Nobody else? Duffy hasn't said anything. Did you lose your sleeves?
Fell asleep with his eyes open.
Sleeve monster got him.
This guy's allergic to sleeves.
Are we going to IHOP tomorrow, Pete?
It's a possibility. Book club. You didn't
What
read
does
your
that
book.
mean?
What book are you guys reading?
I'm not reading anything. I've been really bad with that. Pete's reading, so it's an excuse to go. So
I'm reading Linchpin by Seth Godin right now.
I read that that book's great.
Yeah, it feels a little dated, but I just pulled it off the bookshelf from a couple of years back in our office, and it's pretty good. I like his stuff.
It's a good reminder not to suck.
Yeah, it's a little grumpy. So I'm like 100 pages in, and Seth seems angry at people who have figured out ways to run efficient businesses, but I'm enjoying it for the most part.
I remember when I read it, it impacted me. And it also, I remember, I don't think I knew what he looked like the first time I picked up that book. So then I looked him up and I was like, God, I want him to eat. Like, is he okay? Like, I don't think he's all right. You know what I mean? He's just little.
Yeah, he hasn't changed any of his photography on his website in years either. So
yeah.
All of you should tune in for Greg's Greg's Q&A tomorrow. Greg's a real deal, man. And he's probably the most humble person in this industry. Weirdest as well. But he's super down to earth and knows his shit when it comes to strength training. He's a weird ass dude.
Greg's awesome. I've drank quite a few beers and been uncomfortably full on pizza with him several times in my life. So he's a real good dude.
Yeah, he'll put on a good show. You got to drag it out of him though initially. Get him in his comfort zone.
I'll tell him to have a few beers down before he gets on.
We can do that.
And talk about beer.
I'll sit with him. That should lighten up the mood.
There you go.
Pete, I'm going to have Frank give you my personal number so that we can text. Well, first about business, and then I'll slowly send you like Bitmojis and shit, and then we'll make small talk sometimes. You think
So
I'm kidding?
In this grand communication scheme you've got lined up, what is the timetable between receiving personal phone number and becoming part of Free Content Friday?
You gotta get live.
On Snapchat, Pete.
So you first need to get Snapchat, and then like I have to choreograph it with Chris because like Jacqueline's at the gym, so I'm gonna have to be like, "Yo, can you walk the dogs for like 5 minutes?" Or I don't know, something like that.
It's like the best business funnel I've ever heard of. Like, I'm going to text you a business, and then all of a sudden I'm going to send you pictures of my butthole. Like, that's
that's how Netflix was made. Pete just told me. I looked up the article. Anyway.
Good. Perfect. This is going to be the next Netflix. I don't know what we're going to create, but it's going to be magic.
Yeah, Magic Mike. Jealous AF.
We're cutting Duffy out of it entirely.
No FDF. No Frank.
Duffy, you got kin stretch. You don't need this, baby.
Oh, damn. Damn.
It was supposed to be me and Wes on a podcast that was going to blow up, and now all of a sudden I'm fucking out of everything.
Well, you've been talking about your podcast for 12 months now.
Yeah, because we're working on it, man. The business plan's coming together.
Fuck you.
Why is your name Frank?
Because you told me I had to change my name.
So you took my fucking name?
Do what I want.
Are you paying any attention?
No.
Yeah,
This is Frank was just tuning in.
Me and Gabe are talking about slow pitch softball. And he also looks like one of the singers from Florida Georgia Line. A lot to me.
He does. He does.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
He does.
Spot on his doppelganger.
Hey, real quick, I want to tell a story. So Greg Robbins is the Q&A guy tomorrow, and he writes all of Chris's programming, right, like his training. And Chris was like, I don't want to do this, like this workout or something like that yesterday. So I'm going to be like the first question, like, so what do you do when like online clients bitch about like their workouts? And just want to see if Chris, I told him I'm going to ask that too.
Record it. I want to see the answer.
Okay.
I got a question. I wanted to hear if any of you struggle with this, but I really can't get any shit done in my gym, like when it comes to like emails or writing anything. So I actually have to leave my gym and go get stuff done. Does that happen to anybody that they're like more productive outside of the gym than in their office?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So do you like set up times to like leave your gym and go do work at like a cafe or something?
Yeah, so we have a there's a coffee place like 2 storefronts down, or 2 or 3 storefronts down, and I'll take my computer there. And if there's something like really pressing that I need to get done, I'll be there for like an hour and a half to just crank out stuff.
Okay, good. So it's not just me.
Starbucks needs to start paying me for my time spent there. That's how much I'm there, so it works out.
Yeah, I have a key to the conference room in our building, and that's my refuge when it gets bad. That's why a lot of my Fit-Biz Thursday stuff is recorded in a random conference room, because that's where I escape to.
Cool.
You're not alone, Noam.
I appreciate that. It's good. It's good to know.
If you got my business partner Eric started on it, it's like his biggest pet peeve. He can't actually work at his own business.
Yeah, I agree. So just my ADD.
Cool.
I was gonna say how long.
Cool.
When's the next faction event?
August 12th and 13th in Chicago. Bill Hartman's our guest.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about, did I hear you guys are doing something in New York area sometime soon?
September 30th and October 1st.
I can't do that.
Kyle Dobbs he works for some company that they're opening a new gym in Chelsea, and they're going to be doing a bunch of seminars there. So he asked us to come. And then after that, it's CFSC at our place. And then after that, it's the faction fall seminar at Warhorse in Philly.
Can you actually explain that partnership that you've lined up with CFSC? Is that right? Certified Functional Strength Coach? Yeah.
Yeah. So the goal is to do like one event, probably a quarter together. And it's just like, we just co-promote, and like whoever comes to their seminar gets a discount on ours, and whoever comes to our seminar gets a discount on theirs. So people are paying separately. We're just trying to put them together. It's kind of like co-brand something and then kind of see where it goes from there. So we just want to start kind of producing something together so we can help each other out. And quite honestly, I think we all know that they have a gigantic fucking network, and that will help us a lot. But, our people, we can get our people to them, because it's like we don't have the reach that they do, but it's like we have people that are very committed to the faction because of obviously of what it is. And, we're not going to promote stuff that's shit. So they get a very trusting network of people at the same time. So, and then I think the goal from there is for us to start producing other things together. So.
Do you guys ever think about doing a faction podcast?
Yes, we're actually going to start it this week.
Yeah, you pull a lot of good, like, big name type presenters that I think would obviously sit for a podcast, but then you could intermingle faction, like interviews with faction participants to like showcase them on that level or showcase their business. I think it would be a pretty good platform to kind of launch the whole community.
Yeah, that's not a way that we had thought about it, but that's fucking a better idea than what I had. So yeah, we could totally do that.
Well, I just think if you're like, hey, this week we got Dan John, and then
next week
we're going to talk about Mike Conley's gym. Then the week after that, we got, I don't know, Mark Fisher coming on. And then Noam's going to do an interview about business in Manhattan. So like, I think if you offset it with the non-faction members, but like industry personalities, to keep people's attention and put some eyes on the businesses that, the people who are spending with you.
Totally. I think that's a great idea. Our first idea was just to like get it started and get some momentum. So like Chris, Mike, and I have a weekly meeting, and we were just going to start recording off of that, like just like take 30 minutes and be like, hey, let's talk about this, and then record it and put it out so we can just like at least get into the habit. So like that's the biggest thing that we found for us is like we kind of go habit first and then give it better shape as we go. And it's just like, I mean, that's pretty much how we've done everything, even with this business is like, all right, let's get rolling and let's make sure we turn it into a habit. And then it's like, okay, now here's more of a strategy. So that's kind of where we're going to go with it.
Beautiful. Looking forward
to it. More on the CFSC thing is like, I don't know where it'll go, but we've been talking about all these things to build a list. And I don't know why. And I know that people on this call are going to be like, what? Because I'm really weird about like regular mailing lists. We're going to do it, but technically we have one for the gym, but we're going to be doing it more. But I just don't know. I don't personally, and I know a lot of people we get so much junk in our emails anymore. People don't open them as much. But like, what can you use that people get notifications of and get checked into? And actually, I don't know if everyone on here knows Kyle Dobbs, but you look at like the Strength Collective, the Facebook group that he created. That's a free community, and it's like everyone is in that group, and then just exchanging really good information. And so locally, we're starting right now we're in the planning stage. The page is like held. We made the group, but we're in the planning stage of making partnerships with other awesome businesses in the area that would complement ours, and then creating monthly free events for the community. So that way people would join that Facebook group, which would become another list of ours, but because they're actually getting really awesome free content, not free content Friday though. So then we're kind of doing the same thing. Mike had a pretty genius idea with the Strength Action CFSC thing, is that we're kind of going to do the same thing with this. And our partnership is kicking off with an open forum together that we'll be releasing, similar to a podcast, monthly roundtables, where whether it's people that are on it have questions, or there's just things that we want to talk about. Like we filmed the first one earlier this week, and it was about program design,
like foundational stuff.
Yeah,
and I think
stuff. And we just shot the shit for what, like 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's like a 30-minute video. And I think the thing is like with us, like sure, it's like obviously everything's strategic because it's a business, but honestly, it's like, you know, Pete, like even with you and like why we brought you in to do the shit that we do is like because I literally liked sitting and talking with you at a restaurant. Like that's we had a really. I was like, Pete's a good dude. I think he's a really good guy. And Kevin and Brendan, like I've been drunk with both those guys several times, and it's like they're good fucking dudes. Like, and this is like these are the kind of people that I want to be around, and I want to expose people in the faction to. And it's like if you haven't gotten there to see their stuff, like the fucking CFSC is killer, man. Like it's awesome. And, you know, like if our people are doing that, that's awesome. And if it brings people to us, like that's awesome too. And it's just like, that's literally how like we have picked kind of our strategic partnerships to this point is like, do I want to sit down and have a meal with you or do I want to have a beer with you? If I don't want to do either of those things, like I don't want to fucking work with you. I'm not going to play that game. So it's just kind of how we looked at it. And it's just like, you know, because we looked at other strategic partnerships being formed, like kind of within our realm of the industry. And I was like, I wouldn't work with any of those fucking people. But it's like, you know, I can sit down and talk to Brendan and Kevin any day. And it's like, okay, so here's the thing. If we can talk to you about something other than fucking fitness or something like that, and like there's a connection on level, like I can talk to Brendan and Kevin just about being dudes, like, and drinking beer. And like, and here's another thing is like, when I went up to present at the Boston Equinox, I was staying at Tony General Course Place in Brookline, and Kevin worked all day, had to be at fucking work early in the morning, but still caught the train and came out to Brookline to have a couple beers with me that night. I was like, okay, that's the kind of dude that I want to be around, and I want to have like our people be around. So that was a big influencer, and like our choice to be like, hey, let's work with these guys.
And our business complement each other really well.
Yeah. I shared a bed with Brendan on Saturday night, and let me tell you, he's a good cuddler, and definitely someone you want to work with. So
sure. Great dude, really good dude,
certified functional cuddler.
Person. No one ever mentions Marco, but he's a total sleeper in that group as well.
Marco's awesome, dude. Marco's awesome.
He just got married last weekend.
Yeah.
Saw that. Looked like
he's a great dude. He's a great dude.
I was so shocked to see they had a normal wedding, and I talked to Kevin and found out why. But when he was here, he was like showing me the pictures of what they were gonna do, climb this mountain. They were gonna have like their like a tux and like her dress and these bags, and they were gonna get up there, and they had one witness with them, and like the whole thing was dope. And I'm like, dude, your families are cool with this? And he was like, they're gonna be. Turns out
they were not.
No. Yeah. They went out to the Cape and had a normal person wedding, and it was good. Yeah.
It still looked awesome.
It looked great.
But that's why, Pete.
I respect that policy. The trust your gut rule.
Yeah, man. It'll take you pretty far. Word. So
I guess that does it.
Probably does it. I appreciate everyone that's managed to stay around for this long. You guys are just holding in tight.
Kristen is not alive anymore, but
Kristen is horizontal. She's replaced Casey as the horizontal person. She's still in. Thumbs up.
See, Kristen got on Instagram posting.
What? I didn't see that.
She posted her very first picture.
You did?
Yeah, Frank really liked it.
What's your handle?
On.
What?
But it took a year, but you're in the game now.
Yeah, but your comment of like this was what you chose to put us here for.
Why didn't I see this?
Yeah,
I don't know.
went down for
started following me.
Larrabee did a live Fitcast event down at Perform Better, which sounded kind of questionable going in, but ended up being super cool from my perspective. Obviously, my perspective was a little skewed, but it went way better than I thought it would. And Kristen and Fury and who else? There were a couple of faction members in the in attendance. It was pretty cool.
I thought it was going to be super lame, Pete, and so I went out drinking instead.
It honestly, I thought it was going to be semi-lame, and I wanted to make sure that it didn't totally crash and burn on Kevin because he's a good dude. But I also know that Saturday at the FitCat or Saturday at Perform Better might be tough to keep people's attention, and I'm really psyched I showed up. It was like kind of one of those career experiences that I'll remember. It was pretty cool to be a part of. And so now he's like, he got a lot of positive feedback and got some momentum, and now he's going to do it at the Long Beach Summit and get a bigger room. And if anyone is considering attending that Long Beach event, I strongly encourage to go out to Kevin's thing. So it was fun, man. It's kind of cool to see a podcast recorded live and like the audience kind of engaging with the process. So
it is cool. Good for him.
It was great on our end too, Pete, and Fury kept leaning over to say to me, "This has been the best part of the summit so far." And I completely agreed.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like it's just so much more authentic and genuine than a 60 or 75-minute presentation when you can't really engage with the audience. And so once I figured out that the appropriate approach was to speak to the audience, not answer questions in the presence of an audience, that's when it stopped being awkward.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of podcasts, Pete, since you're pushing us to have guests, do you want to be the first one?
Yeah, well, that all depends on when.
Right.
But yes.
Fair enough with the when. But, I mean, we can push it back until you can be the first guy. We'll just we'll tank it till you're number one.
Oh, I'm all in. I just need to know. I need to clear the time for you gentlemen.
I hear you, brother.
My question would be, what's your platform? Like, what's your angle? Are you guys the 20-minute, 30-minute, 60-minute, free-flowing? Like, what's the approach going to be?
We're going to Joe Rogan this motherfucker. It's going to be half your day. You know what I mean?
Cool. And then we'll break it into like 6 weeks worth of material.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, man, you just tell me when.
No, short. We'll do short ones. Because it's like, it's like, it's funny because Chris and I were talking about this. Like, I started a fitness podcast that was totally not a fitness podcast. And I did a few episodes and it went really well. I mean, Chris was a guest, Andy McCloy was a guest, and then Tony Genocor, and then Spina. And I think I only did 4 of them. And then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I was like, I was like, oh, anti-fitness podcast because I get so fucking bored listening to fitness podcasts. You know what I mean? So I was like, if we can make it short and make it interesting and like make it just be a conversation, like I think that would be awesome because I think we come at it from a different angle. But that's what I would like to do is just kind of short and let's talk. And, you know, here's one thing. Let's fucking go into this for half an hour and then cool, we're done.
Yeah, but be strategic about how you build some like subtle faction plugs in. I mean, it's obviously the intention there. It's going to be the only material that you guys make universally public to non-faction members, right?
Except for the chats with Kevin and Brendan, the CFSC chats.
Yeah.
So, which are videos and we're not doing audio on that.
I'm not saying be like crazy used car salesman. I'm just saying there's got to be a little bit of a call to action.
Oh, totally.
Fine tune that approach.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's there's just certain things. It's funny because we've been reading Mark Devine's book as a staff, Unbeatable Mind, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff I really like, and it's just funny. It's like I know the guy that coached him on business because I used to be in the guy's group, and it's just funny because like every once in a while where he like makes something a little bit deeper and like really explains something and like he goes and he's like, and we go into this more at the Unbeatable Mind Academy, which is like his online fucking educational platform and stuff. And it's like, I think there's a time and place for stuff like that. So if like for me, and maybe I'm wrong and I'm not the best businessman in the world, I'll fucking tell you this right up front. But like, if I'm writing a fucking book, I'm going to tell you every fucking thing that I know. And like, you need to understand and walk away from with this book. Like, I'm not going to say, and we do this at the Unbeatable Mind Academy. Oh, fuck you. Just tell me what you do, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that shit drives me nuts.
I'm with you.
But I get it in the podcast format and like building some stuff in to say, hey, this is like, if you really value this, here's some more value. And this is how we kind of do this. Like that I get. But, you know, I think it's just time and place.
Yeah, that's the angle. It's if you really enjoy this, I'd encourage you checking out next season of Faction because we do this in a live format twice a week minimum for the next 16 weeks. So yeah, just saying if some is good, more is better.
That's fair, my man. That is fair.
My phone just died, which is why you don't have a moving picture of me anymore.
I was going to say, the voice didn't go anywhere, though.
No, because I never left the computer setup. You've been listening to me via the computer and watching me via the phone, which is sitting on my desk on my laptop.
So fucking weird.
I had to scramble. I was unprepared.
Our one guy, Sean, one of the business partners at BSP, walked in with a drone the other day, and I was like, man, get that fucking thing out of here. Those things creep me the fuck out. He's like, we can fly it around. I was like, honestly, like if someone flew that on my property, I'd shoot it down.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, maybe, Chris, maybe. You know, I don't like that fucking shit that Amazon's going to start dropping off my books with a drone. No, I don't want that. It's creepy.
All right, I got to go to bed. My boys are going to wake me up and my wife's out of town with family.
Good night, Pete. Thanks, brother.
Wait, I just opened another beer.
Well, you're drinking it by yourself, Frankie.
Hungover.